when the vision is clear, the resources appear. Hi, Jeff Patterson here, author of The Big Thing Effect, Coach to Game Changers and Teams Around the Globe. One of the big challenges I had early in my entrepreneurial career was that if I couldn't see how to do something, I struggled with the commitment to see it through. And there was an experience I had and a story that I'm going to tell you that helped me get over the hump and learn two things that are essential to getting something done. That is this: when the vision is clear, the resources appear. And the other thing is you must decide, AKA commit to get it done. The year was 1999. And I was not a successful life and leadership coach in those days. I was a professional actor in Hollywood, grinding out my dreams of inspiring and uplifting audiences around the world. Now, at that time, I was hosting a kids show for Nickelodeon. It was a live game show where we pied kids and adults and slimed them on stage in front of thousands. One of the things I was longing to do was go snow skiing. But I had school debt and I wasn't making a ton of money and I didn't have a lot of time. Plus, I'd actually never been snow skiing. So it felt unattainable. It felt like something I hadn't earned the right or luxury to do. I was listening to this radio show on my drive back to our condo in Burbank one afternoon. And on this radio show, this author was saying, take one thing you've wanted to do and just decide to do it. And so I went home, I pulled out my journal, and I did just that because I knew exactly what I wanted to do, but didn't know how: going snow skiing. So I wrote it at the top of the page and I started to journal and imagine myself going on my ideal ski trip. I was basically making it up, imagining what it would be like. And I was writing it down in I am present tense. I am rushing down the mountain, feeling the fresh powder in my face, smelling the hint of pine as I make my way down to the bottom of the hill. I was completely making it up, but I was starting to feel it as if it were happening because I was seeing a vision of it right there in front of me in my journal. I kept doing this for a few minutes. Suddenly, the phone rings. It's my old roommate, Mike Hutchison. Mike says, "Jeffy, what you doing?" And I tell him, "I'm going skiing." He says, "Oh, really? Where are you going?" I said, "Well, I don't know how. I don't know exactly, but I have a Nickelodeon show in Denver in March, and I'm thinking I'd like to go after that." He said, "Well, what are the dates?" I tell him the dates, and he tells me he needs to rush off the phone. I'm like, "All right, no problem." We hang up. I go back to the journal. I'm imagining myself in the lodge in the evening, meeting new friends, chatting and laughing over cocoa, just imagining the best scene. And once again, Mike calls back. This time he says right off the bat, "You're all set." I'm like, "Mike, what are you talking about?" He says, "You're all set. I've got you lift tickets. I've got ski rentals. I even have a place for you to stay." His cousin worked at Copper Mountain. She was going to be gone for a week. I could stay at her apartment. Everything was handled. All I had to do was get there. I was blown away. Something I'd wanted to do for years because I didn't know how was suddenly materializing right in front of me. We chatted. I thanked him. I hung up. And then I went back to the journal. Now, as I was writing feverishly, I was so excited about the details that I could fill in: where I was staying and the skis that I would have and the lift tickets. I keep writing, and suddenly the door knocks. It's my roommate, Bob, who I lived with in Burbank. He comes in and says, "Hey, Jeff, what's going on?" I couldn't wait to tell him the news. I said, "You're never going to believe this." I tell him all about it, and he starts smiling. I say, "Bob, what's so funny?" He says, "Jeff, follow me." He walks me over to the closet underneath the stairwell. He says, "Jeff, open the closet door," which I do. And there, hanging alone on the one hanger that's in there, is a yellow and black North Face two-piece ski suit with gloves and a North Face hat. He said, "Jeff, my mom got this me for Christmas. I don't ski. If it fits, you can have it." It fit me perfectly. I didn't know what to say. I was geeking out with him saying, "How is this happening? I can't believe this is happening." Well, the phone rings again. This time it is the production coordinator, Brian Abell, the producer from the Nickelodeon production. He says, Jeff, we got you all set. Coming up in 2 weeks for Denver. Are you all set? Are we good to go? I said, yes. He said, well, what you doing? I said, I'm going skiing. He's like, oh, are you going to go skiing when you go to Denver on this Nickelodeon show? I said, yes, I am. So I tell him all the details and I tell him all about it, tell him about the ski suit. And he's like, that is so cool. That's incredible. You're manifesting that. That's just really cool. And he said, how are you actually going to get up there? I said, well, that part I haven't figured out yet. He's like, I think I've got an idea. I say, what? He says, you're going to take the production car and use it after the show. I said, Brian, I hate to break it to you, but I'm a little tight on cash. I can't really afford to rent a car for the entire week to get up there. He said, Jeff, don't be silly. It'll be our birthday present to you. So there I was, within a matter of 90 minutes from deciding and then clarifying a vision, everything had shown up. If it didn't happen to me, honestly, I don't think I would believe that the story was true, but it was. And it proved to me the power of deciding. And it showed me once and for all that when the vision is clear, the resources appear. Now, I've done this many times since in my business. And of course, I coach people to live inside of a high level of commitment to their endeavors in life and business. It may not unfold quite this instantly, but the principle still holds true. All right. What did you hear for yourself in this story? What stood out as something you can use back in your life or business? I want you to consider something you've been putting off. Maybe it's small, maybe it's big. Maybe you're not crystal clear on how to do it. I find that this is one of the number one hangups for entrepreneurs is they don't let themselves get clear on a vision unless they know how. Well, as you can imagine, I'm a big believer in deciding first, then mapping out what it looks like, the vision. If you want more stories like this, please check out my book, The Big Thing Effect. And I want to hear from you of what you're going to create from the story right down below. Till next time, I'll see you real soon.